Hello and welcome to another episode of the Knock On Podcast, brought to you by the good people at Zero Table. And Dan, it's been a huge week of rugby league. Huge week of rugby league. We've got to narrow it down for half an hour. What do you got for us?
Well, let's start about the big news. It's been flooding the timeline all day, let's be honest. And that's who's going to play the NRL Grand Final. No one cares about that NRL 360. Brian To'o has been linked with a move away from the Penrith Panthers. Propaganda Peter came out real quick and shut it down, but the news has not abided all day. What are your thoughts, Brian To'o, on his way out, perhaps?
Look, when you've got three premierships, you got three rings on your fingers, right? Count them, 1, 2, 3, and you watch your best mate go and get $1 million elsewhere, and you watch your other best mate go and get $1 million elsewhere, and you're left behind. Money talks. Now, I know people are saying, oh, he's only a winger. No, he is not only a winger. He is a set starter. He is an incredible post-contact meter. He's a meter eater. He scores tries. He saves tries. For how short he is, he's incredible under the high ball. He's safe as houses. You never come away from a game going, geez, Brian To'o made so many errors. If it's true, the Tigers are probably the team that he'll get linked with the most because his best mate has gone there and they've got money. But yeah, I'm not sure. If there's one player to me that screams like Penrith Panthers, it would have been Brian To'o. Mm-hmm. But again, James Fisher-Harris is moving on. Does he want a chance? Does he want to fatten his bank balance up? I'm not sure. Propaganda Pete came out and denied it as quickly like he did with the Stephen Crichton rumours. But those Crichton rumours to the Bulldogs had been creeping around for years and years and years. And this one just popped up out of nowhere today. And Penrith seemed to operate really, really shrewdly. Like, no one knew about the James Fisher-Harris being homesick until the day that he released. No one knew about Isaiah Papali'i until the day he signed. So, if this is the case that it's true, then this is driven from Brian To'o's side and not Penrith's side. I wouldn't be shocked because he's probably looked at his two closest mates leave for more cash, and someone else jump off as well.
There is absolutely no chance in the wide world of sports that the Panthers are behind this. If you're looking to move players on, you do not move the best winger in the world on. He's a bloke who could honestly go and be the first 800k winger. I know Zach Lomax fills that role at the moment, but he's moving to be a centre. He's a bloke that's worth every single cent of whatever he's earning and then some. If this is true, and we're saying if because we don't know, Brian To'o and his management are obviously gone and said, you get into your mid-20s now, you may be late 20s, you're an Origin rep, okay, that's good, 150 grand a year, whatever it is, for the series. He's going to play for Samoa or Australia, whichever one he picks, he makes any team in the world. But this is a young bloke with a family who, is only one bad tackle away from a career-ending injury. Let's be honest, it's rugby league, you don't know what's going to happen. He could earn almost $1 million a year at the Tigers, and I was very quick to notice that they said he's been linked with specific teams. Not saying go to Melbourne or go to Brisbane or Cronulla or any of the teams, the Roosters, any of the teams that are there or thereabouts. That says to me, you can go to a bad team that's not going to come back to hurt us because you're going to earn a lot of money there. It wouldn't shock me if the Dragons and the Tigers are specifically the only two he's been offered to. If this is real, again, we don't know. But it has to be a money thing because he can't be thinking, I'm leaving to win a premiership because he's got 3, he's probably going to get 4, and who says they're not going to go 5 or 6 in a row? It has to be money related, and I don't blame him one little bit.
I bet you the Sydney Roosters are kicking themselves for re-signing Daniel Tupou now that this news has broken. They'd be sitting there going, if we just waited a day.
I just feel that the Panthers would go, are you talking to the Roosters? Denied! Because there's no chance. If he goes there, they're premiership favourites. Let's stick with the speculation. Let's make it a speculation special, mate. Valentine Holmes. We spoke about it real quickly on Rugby League Outlaws. Please check that out if you can. I've linked him
you can, not if you can. When you can.
Not if. Good. I have a feeling that the Dragons want him and expect him. I don't think they're going to have it their own way. Where do you think Val ends up?
Valentine Holmes screams Sydney Roosters. Yep.
That's frightening.
He screams, there are no centres at the Roosters. They would be looking at the ghost of Billy Smith's legs, Junior Payoga, 58-year-old Michael Jennings, and a rugby convert. Now, you could go and slot Valentine Holmes into that centre spot, and you can say to the other three guys, there is a spot there for you, and then one of you will be the first winger up, and one of you will be the first centre up, and James Tedesco might get injured or have to go and fill in for Dylan Edwards, so there might be a game here or there for you. But he screams Sydney Roosters play. He's at that point in his career now, and I know he's got a real close relationship with Shane Flanagan. And I think that the circumstances around his departure from Cronulla would have been completely different had, the whole Flanagan story not been out and about and what was going to happen. But I know he's got a real relationship with Shane Flanagan, but he has to look at that Dragons team and go, okay, that is a rebuild. And whilst he is building nicely, because a lot of people had them for the wooden spoon, they're probably going to miss the finals. And they're not getting significantly better next year. Like, if they go and land Utua Kamanu, maybe it's a different story. But I don't think they're going to get him. But, he's probably looking at 2 or 3 years away just from having a crack at the top 6. Whereas, if he goes to the Sydney Roosters, he's in the top 4 out of 5 years. He's 29 years old. He'll be 30 next year. I think he screams 4-year deal, Sydney Roosters.
Jeez, I hope not, as a fan of not the Roosters. Look, I've seen a lot of Cowboys come out and say, good, let's move him on. I think, he's had a down year by Valentine Holmes standards, but it's still Valentine Holmes. Like, he's 29, he's not 33. I'm a little bit... Now, I think a lot of it's got to do with what the Cowboys do, whether they say, look, you can go next year or we're going to hold you to your contract, because it's for 2026. He's still contracted for 2025, although common sense says if he signs a deal, he's going to go try and get out early. I think that's what the Cowboys have hinted. I wrote earlier, I don't want to blow my own lead, hopefully it's out by the time this drops, that maybe the Cowboys are a power play here, and Val looks and goes, okay, look, the Tigers are going to offer me $1 million to play fullback, the Dragons are going to offer me the same, or I can take a pay cut and stay here because they're building something special up there. I mean, we make a lot of fun at the Cowboys' expense, but that's a much better team than either of those two options.
Yeah, look, it is. I think if he goes to the Tigers, but they've got Dream Buller, so I can't see them paying money for him, but he could go into the centres at the Tigers as well, and that gives them a real good back line. I just think if he is going to move, like the Dragons make no sense for him whatsoever. The Bulldogs make sense because, I mean, as good as Connor Tracy is would you turn around and say who's going to long-term fullback going to be, Connor Tracy or Valentine Holmes? The Roosters make the most sense for me if he is to leave. Take the relationship with Shane Flanagan aside, the Roosters make the most sense.
That's quite frightening, and I hope that doesn't happen. That'll be a fun one to watch. But
would you take him back
at Cronulla? Yeah, in a heartbeat. The romance of it all. Give him 2 years to win a premiership at fullback. Adam Fanua-Blake, Nico Hines at the peak of his powers. Absolutely.
So you're telling me that we can spot Will Kennedy for Valentine Holmes, and the Cowboys, who shit on Will Kennedy from a great height, they can enjoy Will Kennedy and Scott Drinkwater and go to the centres.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. No, that would be perfect. Yeah, of course. Come back to Cronulla tomorrow. I'd welcome him with open arms. One player I wouldn't welcome back to Cronulla, despite his heroics for the Sharks, is Jack Bird, who supposedly requested a release to talk to other clubs. I think he's headed to England.
I was going to say, if you were the recruitment manager of any club right now, like, even, and I don't want to hammer them, but even the Tigers are hanging that phone up. The Titans are hanging that phone up. The Dolphins are hanging that phone up. I think the Dolphins might have a conversation with him, but they're hanging that phone up.
Mm-hmm.
The Dogs may have a conversation with him. But in the end, they've got so many Jack Bird-like players. Parramatta could be a smoky for him. But at the end of the day, like, playing Football Manager, 5 years ago, if Jack Bird came up on the open market, you'd be like, yes, absolutely, how much do you want? Where do you want to play? Let's get it across the line. Now you're sitting there going, oh, Jack, you want to come and play for us? Go to Newtown. Yeah, I don't...
I think he's going to England.
I think he's going to England.
We've seen players much further in their career. Matt Moylan go over there and lead their version of the Dally M, despite being a meme at Cronulla last year because he couldn't defend and his attack had fallen off a cliff. Jack Bird goes over there, I think he'll be a star. And he's still got a couple of years left in him. Don't forget, this is a bloke who missed 2 full years, I believe. Might even be 3. It'd probably cumulatively be 5 years of his career by now, in all honesty. He's still young of body. I know it sounds weird to say. He can go to England and test.
He's not young at body, though. He's had shoulder reconstructions, knee reconstructions, and Achilles. He's got chronic arthritis. You want to send that to the snow?
Look, on paper, it's weird that the report said that he has requested the release. I don't know if that's smart, because I couldn't name any NRL suitors. We often jump on 5 landing spots for players when they're linked, because it's fun to link and gets people talking. I couldn't name 5 for Jack, but I couldn't name 3. I couldn't really name 2.
I could play a little bit of devil's advocate and be like, Ivan Cleary could see him as a top 20 squad player, like he did with Tyrone Peachy. Like he's going to play a little bit back row, and going to play lock, you can play centres, but ultimately you'll be playing New South Wales Cup. Is it a smart move for him to leave St George to go and play New South Wales Cup though? Probably not. I think there's a vacancy at Manly that he could potentially take bench, but again, it would be that you're on the bench, you're in New South Wales Cup kind of scenario. I'd completely rule the Tigers out. He is not a player that they need in any way, shape, or form. In fact, if they sign him, they deserve to be yelled at.
Fold the Can I make an out-of-the-box suggestion?
Newcastle?
No, well, Newcastle's a good one, but
Canberra? Melbourne.
Because if there's anyone who can take the ghost of Jack Bird and turn him into a really good first grader, it's Craig Bellamy. We've seen players that you and I have gone, God, why are they signing? Oh, that's why they're signing them.
Again, though, he's 30 years old, chronic arthritis, Achilles knee reconstruction, shoulder reconstructions. Do you want to go and send him in the cold of Melbourne? Yeah, look, if anyone could take him, it would be Melbourne. And I think Jack Bird is instigating these conversations because a club has reached out to him, whether that be in Australia or in England.
Let's keep the speculation going, Terry. Jackson Hastings looks like he's out of Newcastle. Joining the Exodus, we talked last week. Daniel Saifidi supposedly headed out. Jaden Brayley's on his way out, and there's a couple other players that have been linked with moves away from the club. Jackson Hastings this time last year was in really, really high esteem to the point where it looked like he and Tyson Gamble were the way forward. Now, he hasn't been picked this weekend, I don't believe, and it looks like he's headed to one of the English clubs, I don't know, his 20th club in 5 years? What's going on there?
There is a good player inside Jackson Hastings, but he just has this anti-aura of I want to swear, but I won't, because I've already sworn once. But he has a real negative vibe about him. And he has a lot of D-head syndrome. Like, he left the Tigers. He didn't want to leave the Tigers. He was forced out of the Tigers, right? Went and played for Newcastle. And last year when they finished playing the Tigers, he went to shake David Clemmer's hand. They didn't have one confrontation on the field, and Clemmer pushed him in the face. There's just something about him. He can't settle at a club. He's been Roosters, he's been Manly, he's been Salford, he's been Wigan. They couldn't wait to resole him. He was at West for a year, and now he's at Newcastle. He looks like he's going to go somewhere else. He's way too good for the Super League. I don't know whether it's ego, whether it's personality. He just seems to fall out with everyone wherever he goes. And he reminds me of a current football manager in Thomas Tuchel, who is, in esteem, one of the top 5 managers of the world. He just pisses everyone off wherever he goes. To a point where they can't wait to get rid of him. And I think that's what Jackson Hastings said. He just has this personality that drives everybody insane. They're like, you know what? If we can get rid of you, we will. And clubs go out of their way to get rid of him.
See, it's weird though because if we didn't, because we don't know, we don't work for any of these clubs. But if 9 different things hadn't happened, you wouldn't think that. He's the nicest guy outwardly. He is super friendly to a good mate's child of ours, young Lockie, who is a super fan. He's got all the time in the world. He interacts with people on Twitter. He just sounds like a bloke you just want to have a beer with and support. He just can't stay at a club. Now, I don't know. I don't really want to speculate, but I mean, there's so much smoke. There's got to be fire somewhere. This reminds me of James Maloney. James Maloney was a well-known pest, openly and proudly. This is a bloke who won premierships everywhere he went, except Penrith, or got to grand finals everywhere, except Penrith. Yet every club was okay to let him go. When the Roosters let him go to Cronulla, everyone's like, what are you doing? This bloke's your best player. Came to Cronulla and won a premiership. And then everyone was like, what are you doing? Why are we letting him go? And then he went to Penrith, then they let him go to England. They said the same thing. He went over there and almost got a terrible friend, a Catalan side, I think, to a grand final. So Penrith, you are really bad to not get to a grand final with James Maloney. Jackson Hastings reminds me of him without the supreme elite level talent where you put up with someone for a lot longer than you probably otherwise should.
And even still with James Maloney, as it's been said, you can only put up with it for so long. With James Maloney, his natural talent probably buys him an extra year or two, whereas Jackson Hastings, like, the rumours about the Tigers, he landed in the November and come January, they were looking to ship him to Newcastle.
It's a bugger. I want him to succeed. I really like the bloke. It just obviously we're not seeing what they are behind the scenes, but that's what football is for. Let's continue the speculation, Terry. Tavita Pangai Jr. We laughed when he retired. We laughed when he boxed. We laughed when he retired from boxing. We laughed when he came back. Last week we admitted we're not laughing anymore. Looks like he's going to the Bunnies. He's going to go with Ewan Aitken. He's going to follow the great Wayne Bennett back to South Sydney. I've got to say, good signing.
Yeah, what are the Dolphins doing allowing Wayne to still work there?
I have a theory, Terry. I think they think that if they let Bennett go, they won't make finals this year, and it's all about making finals this year at the detriment of next year and beyond.
Yeah, look, Ewan Aitken is I'm neither here nor there on him. Like, do I like Ewan Aitken as a footballer? Yeah, absolutely. I think he's supremely talented. I think he's been pretty unlucky with injuries, but he's a guy who can fill a void both sides of the field in centres and back row, and we've seen him play a little bit of lock as well. All heart, and has probably overachieved for the lack of natural talent like we talk about with James Maloney. Like, this guy has worked hard for it. And I think that he's gone there and really impressed Wayne Bennett with his work ethic. And Wayne Bennett's just said, you are the kind of player who can come in for 1 or 2 years at South Sydney and make a difference. Show the boys how to train, set the standards, do whatever you need to do, be ultra professional. We need to get some professionalism back in amongst this playing group. Tavita Pangai Jr., on the other hand, has come back like pretty fit, but he's still a pretty good footballer, right? Yeah. And making a difference now playing in that front row for them. And the Dolphins would come out a couple of weeks ago and said, yeah, look, we're looking to extend him, and now it looks like he's going to South Sydney. If you're not backing the club this year to make finals with that roster and the start that you had, if you're actually saying out loud as a Dolphin that we don't think Christian Wolf could take over and get them to the finals, then why are you employing him next year?
That's a very good point. I'm with you because Bennett's he's taken 2 of their best forwards. And what's to say there isn't an 18-year-old kid coming through where he goes, oi, come on, Redfern.
Yeah, considering that they've got 2 forwards retiring and there's talk that Felice Kafusi's body can't handle it anymore.
Well, Tom Flegler looks like he may be out for a lot longer than they thought. They've lost 2. Last year, I laughed when Tavita Pangai retired, and I maintained that if he was playing good football, the Dogs would have blocked his coming back or made it very difficult. They said, go for it. Please take him to get his money off the books. He's come back and he's been an absolute wrecking ball. This is a bloke who went at Brisbane. It was Payne Haas and Pangai Jr. One of them's going to be the superstar. Which one is it? I mean, it's Payne Haas, who's arguably the most mobile all-round prop forward we've seen in a generation, and Pangai Jr. was right there with him. And then you had Tino as the three big ones. This is a bloke with all the talent in the world. Come back and he's just bashing blokes for lols. He's probably not at 100%. Under Wayne Bennett, I think he'll be South's best forward next year, other than Colin Matangi, who I am a ridiculously huge fan of. Maybe Totola. But Totola and Pangai Jr. and Colin Matangi, that is a frightening middle.
Yeah, that is... And you've got Cam Murray as well.
Yeah, that's scary good. Which
That is very, very scary. I think that the Dogs... I think you're right about the Dogs, that they couldn't wait to get his wages off the book. I don't think they could... I think they could have waited to get the player off the book, though. Like, he has come back to the NRL this year on a pittance contract. Mm-hmm. Had he been on less money at the Dogs, I think they would have been like, hey, you know what? You can go on box, have a couple of fights here and there, come back to fight in the off-season. If you get a big fight during the year, so be it. But, yeah, he wasn't giving them value for money. Like, you look at... I'll say this now as well. If you take his most recent performances for the Dolphins and you put him on the contract that he was at the Dogs, he's still underperforming. Yeah, it's the fact that he's come back on a pie and a Coke and he scored a couple of tries and he's made a couple of big hits, but he's still a dumbass and he's a firebrand, that he looks, oh yeah. And so Souths have probably done something stupid like, let's give him $600,000. And then next year you're going to be turning around and going, well, they've overpaid for underperformance. He's an enigma to Vita Pangai Jr. Like, when he was coming back from boxing and Cronulla had 150 grand, I was like, yeah, sure, go for it, because he's something that we don't have. But it's when he becomes that $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 player, you're kind of like,
Exactly. Again, I'm a huge fan of Pangai Jr.'s. I love the way he plays football. But if you need a bloke to make a hit up and not lose the ball for your life, he's about 250th.
Yeah. I was just about to say, with him, when he gets up to play the ball, you don't know whether he's going to fall over, play it properly, incorrectly play it, or fight someone.
Yeah, drop kick a bloke.
Yeah. And most of the time you sit there and go, he's going to do it! He's going to fight! Yep. But yeah, anyway.
It's good fun. I'm enjoying this. But, alright, no more speculation. This is an actual thing that's been named. AJ Brimson has been named in the extended squad for the Titans. Mm-hmm. The way their spine are playing, they are firing. Jaden Campbell in the 6, young Kenny at the back. What do you do with AJ Brimson? I'm going to throw to you because I'm an unabashed AJ Brimson fan. I want to hear yours first, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
I will tell you what they shouldn't have done, and they shouldn't have re-signed him for 6 years when he still had 2 years left on his contract. That's what they shouldn't have done. What they need to do now is give him a release.
You go that far?
Yep, I would give him a release. His best position is fullback. Mm-hmm. And Kenny is playing out of his skin at fullback, and he's got the combination with Campbell. And young Campbell, whilst there's errors there, he looks like his best position is 6. He's been, put to fullback, put to the centres, put to the wing, come off the bench. He's actually making a real red hot crack at it in the 6 now. They shouldn't have re-signed him when they did for the 6 years, and I would be saying to him, look, we love you and you can stay, and you can make the bench, or if someone's injured, or you can wait for someone to get out of form before you jump back in. But I'd be saying to him, mate, if you can, go and find a home somewhere else, because there'll be plenty of suitors for AJ Brimson.
I'm a huge fan of AJ Brimson. Let's get that out of there. I still, outside of David Fifita, see him as the best player in that Titans roster. But
I don't anymore.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But
you still got Tino?
Yeah, true. I could argue on both. You're probably leaning towards Tino, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, you've still got Tino, and I think Jaden Campbell has surpassed AJ Brimson now.
There you go. This time last year, we're not having that combo. It was Brimson.
Yeah.
So it's purely injuries, because he was playing lights out footy, then got hurt, and now Kenny's coming in. They are firing to a point where I still think their finals chances are gone, but they have to win the next 5 games to be any shout. Don't mess with a winning team. No. I think for the rest of the year, Brimson's got to go back to centre. I know it didn't particularly work early on, but this is a bloke who played there, and you got to get value for money. I don't particularly rate Philip Sammy. I love Brian Kelly, and they're two wingers.
Sammy is a sensational centre.
Every 3rd or 4th week, but their wingers, undroppable. They are freaks. They are 10-year talents. That
Jojo
back line
Fafita and Alofi Khan Pereira can't move him.
reeks. But Kieran Foran's like 45, and AJ Brimson's played plenty of halfback before. I
Not
think
well though.
I think you just say, oi, this year you do what you do. Next year you spend the full year training at halfback. You and Campbell are long term. I don't know how much longer. This is the longest I can remember Foran playing without a major injury and missing weeks and weeks and weeks. They don't have an X man up. Brimson has to be halfback or he needs to leave the club. That's
They've
simple.
they've re-signed Kieran Foran for 2025 as well.
Is he going to be available though?
Well, you say that, and here he is now. The ghost of Kieran Foran. What? How old is he? Let's quickly go here.
I only guess 33.
34. He'll be 35 in January next year. So he's probably only got 1, maybe 2 years left in him as well. But the way he's playing, you just keep signing him to that 1 year deal. And he has put in better halfback performances at 34 years old than AJ Brimson ever has. I'm saying to AJ Brimson, you're on a lot of money. These two guys here have actually taken their chances. You're free to go.
Fair enough. This is one to watch because there's about 5 or 6 clubs that could really use him.
Oh yeah, Cronulla's one of them.
I was going to say Cronulla included, so that's going to be a fun one. But that's a good little segue to my last segment. Now we avoid talking Sharks here because we have so many other places already discussed. But I want this to make the cut in zero tackle. The Sharks are in an injury crisis right now to the point where we had to name Jaden Verrill the other day because he was last man up. Let's be honest. We had to name a 19-year-old kid in Liam Myson who would not have played a single second of NRL football this year. I maintain he deserved it, but it shouldn't have happened without 25 injuries. I'm going to say, this is going to be controversial, it's a good thing for the Sharks. Their title aspirations are well and truly gone. Nico Hines fell out of form. Gonskis. Cronulla get 4 games out of Sam Stone Street coming up. They get the rest of the season with Kailero. They get some forwards playing bigger minutes. I think in the long term this would be good, but right now I think the Sharks are done.
Oh yeah, look, we were done the minute Penrith put 42 on us. That just killed our season. We haven't been able to mentally recover. Physically we've recovered, but mentally the minute a team jumps out to 2-try lead, we're like, it's happening all over again. Fair enough, some games we've been able to bring that back, but yeah, I think Cronulla are done. I was having a chat with someone the other day. Would you rather finish 4th or would you rather finish 5th? I would say right now you'd probably rather finish 5th because you get a home final against the Dolphins. And I know they've beaten us twice, but you'd have a probably a better shot at that than, maybe a straight sets exit again. Who knows? The injury crisis, like Hines is the big one. We've had no formal fitness from Toby Rudolph, no formal fitness from Hamlin Ueli. Royce Hunt's just hitting fitness now, but for some reason we don't seem to play him. Tukes has broken his finger. Ronaldo's out for anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks. We had the stupid suspension from Will Kennedy that was not a suspension. Jack Williams with a sprained wrist. He's been named this week. Will he actually pull through though? Not sure.
We better.
We've missed him.
Yeah, we have Tom Hazelton's out this week. Jesse Colquhoun's gone for the season. Yep. Kade Dykes, who was the next man up in multiple positions, is gone. The Cronulla are at bare bones. The other week, they named a team that they sent 19 men up or something. Jack Williams couldn't play last week is the word we're getting. Sam Stone Street hasn't played for a month and sat there as a 18th man thinking, God, please don't pick me. Jaden Verrill played token minutes because there was no one else left because Huge Tukes hurt himself during the week. I think Burns is the next man up, and after that, you're calling on Rodwell and Puru and other rookies. Like, I don't want to blame injuries because every single team's had them, and I've been on this very show saying that Penrith have been able to overcome injuries to their superstar players. Cronulla don't have the depth of Penrith because no one in the competition does. But as soon as you take Nico Hines, who's probably the one genuine superstar out of the Sharks, they couldn't go with the good teams. I know he was out of form, but I don't care. On any given day, Nico can beat almost anyone other than Penrith, it seems. Cronulla don't have that. But what I'm saying is, this time next year, Sam Stone Street's going to have 5 or 6 games rather than 1 under his belt. Beryl might get another game or 2. Jack Williams, who's pushing for a contract, is going to really put himself forward. Braden Hamlin-Uele is going to have to play because we saw him in and out for weeks and weeks and weeks. Now you got no choice, mate. It's you or no one, and it's got to be you. So I'm trying to find a rosy side of this because it ain't rosy in the Shire at the moment. I think it's going to work out.
a rosy side of it to me says you're right. Like whenever you can give your depth more reps, and you probably want to do that in sort of around like 24, 25, 26. The run home though for Cronulla, it starts Saturday, and they've just, like the forward pack that we've named has been pretty good, and it should be able to get on top of the Rabbitohs. You feel a lot more comfortable with Jack Williams back. Royce Hunt is also back as well. I'd probably really like huge Tukes on the bench as well. But you've just got to do what you can do. You've got to ride it out. Other teams like the Warriors have been in an injury crisis all year. Their season's done. We've managed to get through off a red hot start. We've just got to hang in there now. You just got to battle on. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Knock On Podcast, brought to you by the good people at Zero Tackle, your one-stop shop for all things rugby league. We've got rumours, we've got transfers, we've got up-to-date contracts, we've got the breaking stories as they come, and some of the best independent writers on the planet who cover rugby league, including my good friend and my co-host, Mr. Dan Nichols. What do you got for us this week, Dan?
Well, mate, dropping today by the time this goes out, hopefully. Valentine, Holmes, 5 potential landing spots. I've actually left the one out that you named number 1. So a bit of controversy there. I think it's pretty close. It's going to come down to 2, and it's going to come down to money, but we'll see later in the week. And also the world-famous power rankings are going to get shaken up big time this week, because last week results were all over the place.
I was going to say to you, I've been like hammering you about power rankings, right? But if Cronulla were 4th in your power rankings, they'd probably slap you.
They're not.
They probably need to be about 8th or 9th.
They're very much not. I think the Bulldogs are the only team that are going to push the top 3 because they're on a pretty good winning streak. But I think you could name a top 2 and then the rest, and I think you'd be pretty spot on. But I look forward to a big week of football, mate. Hopefully got some positivity next week. And I'd like to see 90% of the speculation we discussed there next week to discuss is finalised.